the meeting to order, please?
Yes.
Take roll.
Guerrero?
Yes, here.
Kent?
Here.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl? Weldy?
Here. Ms. Wilbaum, would you lead us in the pledge,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. At this point, do we have any visitors?
Just one, and they would like to address the board in closed session over a student, matter.
Okay, so you're gonna go into closed session first and then bring them in, after we get through the rest, or at the beginning?
We can do it first.
Okay, all right, so then at this time, we need a motion to go into closed session for the reasons stated on the agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by James Kent, seconded by Eric Pearson. Call roll, please.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes, session minutes is read in closed session.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second?
Second.
James Kent, call roll, please.
Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to enter into a successor contract with Jonathan Field as a principal for the Sangamon Valley School District through the 2023-2024 school year.
So moved.
Motion made by James Kent, is there a second?
Second.
Roger Reed, call roll, please.
Reed?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Motion to enter into a successor contract with Bethany Wellbaum as a principal for the Sangamon Valley School District through 2022-23 school year.
So moved.
Motion made by Roger Reed, is there a second?
Second.
Eric Pearson, call roll, please.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Motion to accept the resignation of Brian Britton as intermediate and middle school principal effective June 10th, 2020.
So moved.
Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
Linda Weldy, call roll, please.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Motion to accept the resignation of Mary Lynn Mann effective March 10th, 2020.
So moved.
James Kent, is there a second?
Second.
Eric Pearson, call roll, please.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Okay, and then,
You have to vote.
oh, yes,
Thank you.
yes. Consent agenda, everyone received one, bills. Any questions regarding the consent agenda that you didn't get answered previously? No, okay, so I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
Roger Reed, can you call roll, please?
Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes,
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes.
and superintendent's report.
Few items on there. First, the cooperative sports update. The co-op committee met with a similar committee from Tri-City on February 3rd. I really had a difficult time writing all this stuff out. I tried to put it in a narrative form and that didn't really work, so I just kind of highlighted some of the talking points. And as I mentioned, please keep in mind that there's nothing that's set in stone. We can go as fast or as slow or stop, whatever the board decides to do. But these are the things that we talked about. Per the conference bylaws, Sangamon Valley has to remain in the Lincoln Prairie Conference, which is their current conference, for 2 years due to the initial contract. We're in the first year right now. That would put us needing to at least complete one more year. In an upcoming meeting in April, I would probably recommend to the board, and we probably need to discuss this at the March board meeting, that we look to petition the Lincoln Prairie Conference to lead the conference after the 2021 school year for all sports but football. That would put volleyball, boys basketball, track, in the MSM conference. I would also recommend that we look to co-op boys basketball with Tri-City being the host, starting, maybe as early as, the 21-22 school year. Is that right?
Not
Next
this fall.
year,
That'd be 2021.
Yeah, but 2021, we still have to be in the
We
LPC
just-
conference.
I would
the next
recommend that, I don't think I wrote that down right. No, that'd be right.
That'd be right.
We would co-op starting in the 2021 school year. So that would put us through one more complete year with the LPC and having our own boys basketball program. That would give everybody plenty of notice and, can come to the board meeting and state their opinion or whatever, but I also believe that at that point that we consider balancing the co-ops, because at that point we would be, cooperative in all of our sports. And what that would mean, or what that would look like, is that in the fall, football would be hosted here at Sangamon Valley. Volleyball then would be hosted at Tri-City. That would give each school a major sport in the fall. Girls basketball would come to Sangamon Valley, back to Sangamon Valley. The boys then would go to Tri-City for the winter season. And in the spring, Tri-City would host softball and baseball. Sangamon Valley would host boys track and girls track.
All right, so a couple of quick questions, Bob. So backing up one bullet point there. So that 21 to 22 school year, are we saying that should be changed to the 2021? No, so it stays the same.
That is correct.
Okay, so then my next question is, on the basketball, is there an advantage or a particular reason to shift girls' basketball back to Sangamon Valley when it's already at Tri-City, and send boys' basketball to Tri-City? Is it easier to simply leave girls' basketball there and co-op the boys here?
With us being the host?
Yeah.
The only reason that I would suggest not is because then that would give Sangamon Valley the opportunity to host one major boys sport, and then we give Tri-City that same opportunity.
I see, that makes sense, okay. Since we already have football.
Yes.
All right.
Some of the things that were mentioned, the MSM is a conference of cooperative programs, and both committees felt like it would be a good fit for us. We also talked about the possibility of a common name, color, and mascot, which at the high school level, then there would be no longer a tornado or a storm. There would be some sort of common mascot. I don't know what that is. A perfect example of that, though, Glenda asked if there were any schools around here, Waverly and
Franklin, or South County.
they have the South County Vipers.
Windsor Stu Strauss have been the Hatchets for several years. Actually, our conference president, Matt Schoaf, was the AD there when that happened. They were the Blue Devils and something else, but
Did they keep their names? So they still go Windsor Stu Strauss, but they just have a new
so
mascot?
they're WSS Hatchets.
Okay.
What about, basketball last night? Arthur Lovington out with Hammond. Arthur Lovington used to be the Panthers, I don't know what.
Oh, they're the
Panthers.
Knights.
They're one district.
Yeah,
They
now they're the
consolidated, the whole
Knights.
district consolidated.
And so Atwood Hammond was previously the Knights also.
No, they were something else.
No.
Mirage.
Oh, but you're right, they consolidated the whole district.
So yeah, Arthur Lovington, Atwood Hammond, they're the Knights. and
But
they're
that's the whole
black.
district, not just sports.
Yeah, they are actually a consolidated district now.
I don't know what Atwood Hammond was.
So the committees will continue to meet during this school year. I think we have another meeting scheduled,
March,
I don't remember, it was
something or other.
March 6th. Anyway, I'll let you know when the next meeting is, and it might be later than that. And then some things to consider, the process on how to decide a common name and mascot. What other extracurricular activities could be included? Would we look at cheer, dance, marching band, flag, that sort of thing? I think a common athletic fee would be something that we would need to discuss. And then how do we best share this information with the communities.
Okay.
So, like I said before, I think our next step is that probably in March, I will have a recommendation that we petition to leave the Lincoln Gray Conference at the end of next school year, which would be 2021. That would be the
For
first step.
everything but football.
Yes, for everything but football.
Okay.
Now, something that just occurred to me tonight as we're going through this, and I was in that meeting. And Mr. Brecky's maybe thinking the same thing. We got this bid in here for marching band uniforms.
Which are fairly nondescript, they said.
Are they? I mean,
Yes.
there's no reference to color or anything on here.
They are navy blue, gray, and white, and they have a lightning bolt down the front.
So if we stick with a weather-themed mascot.
Does Tri-City have a marching band at all?
I don't have that information.
I think they said they did not.
They do not.
They have a band program, but they don't have
It's split.
a marching
between-
band.
Yeah, and they don't have marching band, so,
Okay.
So, and we could, in theory, have some sort of storm weather event mascot again,
Sure.
like a lightning bolt or a thunder or, but those are
I
things,
just think we have to take all that now. I mean, we do have to consider that if we're going to
It's a huge
purchase the
amount of
uniforms,
money.
then we can't go become the Panthers
Yeah.
or something.
It reminds me.
Can they take that and pull it off? They can stitch out.
Throw it on.
No, it's the whole design.
I was at the boys' basketball game last night. You know who one of our referees was? J.C. Folds, former WAND weatherman. He was one of the referees at the varsity basketball game last night.
now that he's got his free time.
Yeah.
so. That's something to consider, but I also feel like that it's something that could fizzle. Do we wait and put the band uniforms off a year then? I don't know.
No, I don't wanna do that for you. How long, you'd have to order them by when to have them by fall?
Now,
No.
When's the last time you ordered uniforms?
16 years ago, consolidation.
We could,
Yeah, they gotta have a long shelf life. Cause all of our others are on the kind of like a 5-year rotation, but they also don't cost
Yeah.
$42 million.
give or take.
Give
It
or
wasn't
take.
that.
Okay, it was.
Talk about that in a minute.
Possibility of being pirates, so.
Right, right. Or the Indians.
It seemed like in the discussion between the committees that,
We try to go with something weather related
Yes.
because they're tornadoes and we're storm. And like sometimes they would do stormnadoes, and I know when the girls first played basketball together that first year, we created our storm brain, I call it, cause I swear it looks like a human brain. But, and then their tornado coming out of the bottom of it, which I'm not saying we become a stormnado, but I'm just saying weather related. I think you had some good,
people have this
suggestions.
trouble with Sangamon Valley, then you give them a stormnado that
Yeah.
doesn't even
Yeah.
exist, or go,
Right,
okay,
we have to
what
have
is
You
going
gotta
on
market
there?
that as a food too, and then I'll get people. to-
As a food.
Sell tornado dogs.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, yeah, but if we're keeping football, that's generally just who the marching's for, so I guess it doesn't really matter too much, does it? We'll still
That's in 2
maintain that
years.
name no matter what. No, well, for football, it won't, will it?
football would change as well, all the sports,
All sports would change.
all the sports have a common name and
But we
mascot.
keep, okay,
But we just host it and they still come to us, Tri-City, yeah. So I don't know what the
I think when
answer
it
is.
comes to that point, that the committees need to narrow the selection of what our possible mascots could be. And then if
like
that,
it to match the mascot?
Are you asking me personally?
Yeah.
I think we should stick with what we've got. It's fresh and modern, and it matches our. It's got the storm lightning bolt. I think you could apply that to many different mascots. I don't think our marching band does a lot more than just play at the football games. So
Exactly.
I feel like it represents us at our competitions that we go to. So matches the shows we can do.
and I don't know if you were thinking ahead or not, but they are as probably as what's the term I'm looking for, nondescript?
Yes, there's no text, it doesn't say a name of a school or a mascot like it currently does. And I did that on purpose so that we can match it to lots of different show themes, because every year we do a different show, so.
Okay, well, that's as long as you're
Yeah.
comfortable too, because, you know, you bring this and all of a sudden we're saying, hey,
What
something's
was
gonna
it?
happen.
The
Na-
colors
It's
are
mostly navy blue,
Navy.
and it's got some gray and some white.
Okay,
So as long as you keep some navy blue, it's gonna match whatever you end up picking.
all right.
So that's all on that.
Okay.
Next, the consolidation study. As I mentioned, we agreed to a resolution to possibly enter into an agreement, I guess, to have a feasibility study of Tri-City for consolidation. They sent that motion or that resolution into the state board, and the state board rejected it. And their recommendation is that the feasibility study would be broken down into two. There would be two separate studies.
And see, I thought that's what they were going to do. They were gonna do a study with Riverton and a study with us, which makes sense. but
That's what they were
lumped it.
going to do, but the resolution was lumped together and they didn't like the way that it was written. I think it was clear what Tri-City's intent was, but it was, the board, state board didn't like it.
Okay.
So they recommended doing one study, and maybe Tri-City thought that a study could go on all at the same time, where they could look at Riverton but the people doing the study said that that was too big of a job as well. So as I mentioned, maybe overstepping my bounds a little bit, of recommending to Joe Larson that to present to their board that maybe they do the study with Riverton first. Because I always felt like this board has been open to the possibility of consolidation, but not so much when they're looking at 5 other school districts. But when
Correct.
you're really serious about it, then come back to us, if you get back to us, and then we can be serious about it, approaching our communities. There's no sense of getting everybody all whipped into a frenzy, over something that may not, they may come back and say, this isn't gonna work.
And finding a legitimate funding source. I
Right.
mean, you know, everybody can say, yes, you should consolidate, it's for the better good, but if you can't fund a school building that would hold all of us, I don't know what you're gonna do, so.
I think there's a lot of things that have to go into play, like money from the state for a building. So that's kind of where we are. Tri-City's board will inherently decide whether they want Sangamon Valley, the city to go with us first, or Riverton. I don't know where they are on that, but I'll try to find that question out from Joe Larson and I'll let you know. But there's nothing that we need to do or take action upon right now. I gave you the enrollment projections and I can't find mine. They're back here. I gave you 2 sheets. One was the beginning of the school year. And basically looking at the projected enrollments as they are right now, it looks like district-wide we would be down about 22 students. The thing that bothers me a little bit is that we're seeing a lot of these class sizes of 40, 42, 43, 41 together, and not too many 60s and dare I even say 70s anymore like we used to have. And I feel like our enrollment has pretty much been the same since all the things went down with the housing back in 2008. A lot of districts a lot of people moved out of Illinois in general. A lot of people moved out of Macon County. I think there was a study that was done in the fall that showed that Macon County was losing more residents than any other county in the state. I don't have official numbers on that, but
Well, and we looked just a few years ago, in Decatur Public and I think Mount Zion were the only Macon County schools that had an increase in enrollment. Every other one of us had decreases, so I don't think it's just us.
it's not. And like I said, I feel like we've kind of held steady, but one of the things that I think we will need to consider as retirements happen, if these numbers stay where they are, then do we continue to go with 3 teachers per grade level? And the only reason I'm questioning that is because we're seeing more and more kids in the early age, and Bethany can speak to this, that are some challenging high need kids, and they're probably going to require an individual aid. And if the IEP says individual aid, then they have an individual aid, and that costs money. So then we're splitting a class size of 43 ways, but still having to put an aid in the classroom. I don't think that's good management of money, unfortunately. It would be nice to be able to say that we can sustain 3 over the course of however many years. If the enrollment suggests that we can, then I say we do, but I think it's just something that when it comes, we really need to look hard and close at the numbers and make a decision based upon the numbers.
Okay.
It's kind of a downer, but
Oh.
that's where we are.
It is what it is.
And then one other thing that I wanted, well, I got a couple other things that weren't on there that I wanna mention, but the summer construction, I just wanted to kind of put it out there for the board that we have already spoken with Tabernacle and the Village of Harristown about their summer events that they have. They're just not gonna be able to do it this year. They're gonna have to look for someplace else because of the construction. I think that the youth league can still utilize the fields. It might create more of a mess parking wise, but we're going to try to do our best of kind of walling off the staging areas for the construction and try to keep everybody safe as possible. We'll work on that, but I just wanted to kind of, again, get that out in the public and let you guys be aware that you may receive a call and say, well, why are they not doing this? Why are we not able to do it this year? And this is why.
And Bob, just a quick question. You brought up the youth league. We have put a stop to the idea of the youth league using any weightlifting equipment and holding spring weight sessions or training sessions or whatever at the middle of the
I don't even know if we're doing any indoor activities. Nobody has since reached back out to me.
Nobody's brought that back up yet.
Mr. Bredden, do you know if anybody's been coming in?
Nobody has talked to me about it.
So I don't know where they are with that even.
Cause they wanted to start the end of March, or end of February,
Right.
correct?
There was also an email about a water line, right, in Harristown?
Wanted to take a water line over to.
Did anything ever come
concession
of that?
stand. Oh,
I've not heard of anything
Okay.
from that, if they've had any type of estimate or bid or anything.
Okay.
So, kind of holding on that. Carol actually ran a report on the cafeteria fund. It is not on the agenda, but I wanted to share it with you in the public anyway. As of 1/31/19, the cafeteria account was negative $26,000. And at the same time this year, we are negative $283. So that is quite a change. And the lunch ladies have all, I think things have kind of settled down and we're just kind of cooking our lunches.
into a rhythm.
Gotten into a rhythm a little bit. Kelly does a nice job of getting around to the buildings and making sure that everything's running smoothly. She subs a lot in the kitchens as well, so I think that is going really well.
Quality and the offerings have remained.
Quality and offerings, at least in my opinion, what I see here at the high school, I haven't had any complaints coming over from the other buildings, but just the variety of what the kids have to choose from each day. I can't necessarily say that things are, it's a gourmet lunch, but the quality certainly hasn't decreased, and just the opportunities for choices, I think, makes it so much better. I'm very pleased with that. And then the last thing, I know that I've come to you with a lot of construction projects. I have some lovely pictures to show you. The first being, I don't know the best way to do this.
Just start at the bad pictures.
This first picture that I'm showing is a picture of the old boiler in the middle school. It was a mess, it was leaking, The second picture that I'm sending around is a picture where the old boiler used to be.
Yeah.
And you can see our new circulation valves
New valves, ready to go.
on our new boilers, which are beautiful, by the
Oh my
way.
gosh, wait, let us see that one. Here's the
It's
old
like a centerfold. Those are the types of things that I get excited about.
Maybe you should walk those up to the camera.
Oh.
They look like sports cars, but those are our three boilers. That's what, $135,000.
You buy it.
Replacing how old a boiler is, those are the ones that look like they were ancient.
What building are those?
Beyond
That was
the
at the middle
useful
school.
My goodness.
So, the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I have this other picture, this is the sump pump system that sits right next to those new boilers that we put in. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of the amount of water that goes into this sump. But basically what happens, the entire 1926-27 structure, they have drains that are kind of internal into the building. They come down through the building underneath and go into the sump. We were very fortunate that King Laura was working on a Saturday. Well, they came in, and basically what happened was that there was so much water flowing into this pit that the sump pump and the backup sump pump kicked on at the same time because the single pump could not keep up. And so you can see from this picture that the backup sump pump is hooked up like it normally would be. It goes up and empties into the main line, and then this is pumped up, and from this point up, it's all gravity fed off the campus. Well, both of them kicked on, and they were fighting each other to try to put 4 inches of water into a 2-inch pipe, and the breakers kicked off, which stopped all the pumping, and the basement flooded. And unfortunately, like I said, they caught it as it was starting to go up over the lip of the new boilers. So I have a quote that King Laura is working on, and I'll bring it to the meeting in March. I don't know if we should wait until March to do it, and I'll talk to Barney about the fact that this is something that I feel like is an emergency and needs to be done. What they did was they're gonna rework both of these, put new pumps, put a new cover, a new safe cover, clean up this back wall, and make it to where both lines will empty out of the building. That way, if the backup kicks on again and it's a situation where they're both running, they'll both have separate lines out of the building and into the catch basin outside. What they also proposed was the possibility of some sort of backup generator. They gave a couple quotes. One of them was $20,000 for just the generator that would operate all of this stuff in the event of a power outage. I don't recommend doing that. What I'm going to do is look at the possibility of one of our local electricians of installing you've probably seen them, the Generac units that could set outside, and much cheaper, but it could run all of the stuff that's in this particular room, which would be the backup sump pumps, the boilers, the circulation pumps. So if we ever had a situation like we had, I think it might have been in 2006, where we had an ice storm and we were without power at the Illiopolis building for a week. If we ever had a situation like that, that unit could run everything in this room, and we could continue to circulate hot water and throughout the building and not worry about pipes freezing and bursting and that sort of thing. So, when I get the final quote from King Laura, I'll share that with you, and again, I'll try to talk to Barney what the best way of going about doing that. I think we could probably get on the books to have it done and then take official action. I don't know if we need to have a special meeting to do this or not. I'm hoping that we do not.
What's the cost?
The cost for the backup sumps and running all the lines and everything out is about $12,000.
You're under your threshold, so I don't think it would require a meeting, but Barney's the boss, so.
I'll ask him what the best route of action, but I wanted to bring that to your attention because I really feel like it's something that we need to protect that investment that we put in, and I think that is a viable way to do that, and probably is inexpensive as it can be. So, that's all I have for my superintendent report.
New business.
New business. Last year at this time, I had mentioned to you that, we were having some issues with QNS, and I wasn't really pleased with QNS, and I think part of the problem with that was the fact that we were going through, the building technician. We would have a person and they would be here about long enough to know where everything is, and they would move on. And I really feel like that was the main issue that we were having, was there was no consistency with our tech. Another problem that we were having, I felt like, was our service that was coming in from Comcast. So I put it out to, Jill Dare helped me put it out to bid. Metro Communications won the bid to provide internet service for the district. We approved that last spring, and then Metro didn't get the service into the building until about a month ago. So I've really not had an opportunity to evaluate what we've got coming in with Metro, and then how QNS can work with all of, the new fiber coming in the building. So what I'm asking you to do is to, let's do one more year with QNS. Sometime in December, I'll meet with them. I'll talk with the building principals and make sure this is still something that we wanna do, or if we wanna just part ways and shop. But I would recommend that we enter into agreement. This $49,700 is the same amount that they charged us last year. So there was no increase in cost.
And we do have a more
Service.
standard, stable, same
We
person.
we do have one, and he seems to be doing very well. And the thing is though, will we have him in a month from now? I don't know. But there's no company that can come in and guarantee that we're gonna have the same tech 6 months from now. You just can't. And to me, that was the problem. So it is better, I believe, and so I would recommend doing that.
Okay, so a motion to approve a one-year agreement with QNS for technology support services for the amount of $49,700.
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
I'll second.
James Kent, call roll please.
Reeves,
Yes.
Welding, Wells,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes, Pearson.
Yes.
Next item, I mentioned in my report to you that QNS had a proposal to update some equipment, which included a larger server at the high school. And the reason for that larger server is that what we're doing now is that the fibers coming into the high school building, we're supposed to be getting a meg of whatever. I'm not very techie, but that's a lot, I guess.
That's what I call it.
And so what that will happen is that will come into the high school, and then it'll be shipped out to both Illiopolis and Harristown. So we need to have a larger server here at the high school. But what we can also do is, what we had before, we had 3 firewalls, a firewall at each building and each server. And the firewall kind of regulates where the kids can and cannot go. And there's a license for that. So they are proposing that we upgrade the server at the high school, and they're also proposing that we put 2 new servers in at each building, and I would recommend that we do that. We can save money, about $4,000 a year from firewall subscriptions. They're also recommending that we replace 141 computers throughout the district with an upgraded solid state computer. They're also recommending that we take the 95 that we did last year and add this new solid state hard drive externally mounted to that. That would put all of our computers all on the same level, all of the same abilities, capabilities, and they would have a shelf life of about 6 years.
Do
And
we
you're
need,
okay doing this on a 3-year plan when you're only doing QNS? You could say in a year with them, we don't wanna partner with you anymore,
Right.
we'd still be paying for equipment through them.
We could at that time choose to go ahead and pay off the remaining balance of the computers, and then the computers regardless will be ours.
Do we need the same functioning capacity in the K2 building that don't take the online tests and those kind of things that we do?
The infrastructure is gonna be there regardless, and the computers that would be in those buildings would be for or teachers.
Okay, they're not in the labs.
So they could run their, Promethean boards or smart boards or whatever they have.
I guess the only question I would have is why do they want us to add the additional solid state drive to the existing computers? Are they not functioning properly?
I think this was an opportunity to where we would not have to do anything for a few years down the road, that everything would be brought up to the same level. I'm not, you're probably a lot more versed in this than I am.
That's the only thing that just kind of caught me a little different. I mean, if they're working, they're okay, and there's no issues with that. With the solid state drive, it's great because it boots up quicker, it runs better, but are you having a problem with the machines today?
Where are those machines? The ones that were done last year? Are they everywhere?
I think they're spread out. Some of them, if I remember correctly, would probably be computer labs.
And is the 141, is that all new additional to what we have now?
Well, they would take the place of, they would be switched out.
Oh, okay.
They're just replacing them, so we wouldn't have 282 computers laying around. It would be 141, and these would go into, these, obviously, we don't have 141 teachers. We have 2 computer labs here, we have 2 computer labs at the middle school, we have a computer lab at the intermediate building and one over here at Harristown. Now, we're not going to do anything to the computers in Harristown because we're kind of trying to decide if we add a teacher, where is that teacher gonna go? Probably the computer lab. We're gonna have to come up with an alternative. Whether that would be iPads and cards, I don't know. Ms. Weldon and I will work on that and come up with a recommendation, but I don't know the question on the 95, I really can't say. I don't think any of our computers are not functioning.
I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything, but if you're looking to trim money, that's where you can trim it, but
And what was the
it's
cost
not
for that?
that much,
8,500?
unless they have a reason that.
And then the bracket with it is about
So they're
91.
not opening it up or replacing it, they're just slapping it on the side and just running.
That's
it
what I
back.
understand.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
John, do you know anything about that? What you really not?
No, I'm okay. I agree with Mr. Reed.
That's
You
maybe
could always add it later.
unnecessary.
Well, we could, I
Wanna
could
table
easily,
this one? Or is this bid all good for, I mean,
it would be, what I can do is I can ask them maybe for a clarification. They were willing to come and discuss with the board of why they would like to do that. Maybe we table all of this and ask them to come back and let them explain it of why we need to do this. And then you can make a decision at that point, whether to do just the 170 or 141 computers. I would say regardless of, I think the servers are something that we need to do.
Probably not.
What'd you start to say?
But there will be 141 new computers, but there's 95 of them that will not be replaced, but they will get the SSD, correct?
Yes.
And some of those 95 are Promethean boards,
They're not necessarily Promethean boards, they would be,
they're computers.
Teacher
that run-
computers,
I mean,
yeah.
I would think that those should maybe be included, I could see how that would be, you know, not slow down the teacher's computer, but like, yeah, I mean, if you got some classrooms that don't need an SSD, I don't know what programs are being bottlenecked by the hard drive.
I can't really speak to that either.
I can tell you, I mean, it's not a cure-all, might not do anything for you.
So do we wanna table this and just ask them to provide you a,
I think that would be,
Come.
I think that'd be fine.
okay,
I'll have them come to the March meeting and they can explain it and you can decide. What I'll probably do is have them do 2 quotes, one with and one without the 95 external drives.
and I guess I'd be curious to know where those 95 are.
have
them
an
all,
inventory of
yeah.
everything.
So, cause maybe we only need to do 20 of those 95 or something to make it work, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. It makes
Okay.
sense. I'll just have them come. So we're at the table.
Yep.
The purchasing agreement?
Yep.
All right.
Moving on to band uniforms. We've
I-
sort of had this discussion.
We have kind of had this discussion a little bit. One of the things that I think you need to understand about the marching uniforms is it's like any other thing, if it's over the $25,000 threshold, and I don't mind stating this, publicly on the record, that we would have to put that out to bid. And, so I had Barney, he had an example of a bid for a marching band uniform. And this document was massive. And it had everything down to the liner of the coat and the cuff and the sleeve and
The stitching.
the stitching and how the buttons were gonna be attached, and it was, so he said, you know what I'd do if I were you, if you're with a company that you work with and that you like, do your best to cut the number of uniforms down and get it under that $25,000 threshold. And which makes sense in the fact that we can do that, and we can base uniforms maybe on what the kids that we currently have. And then, as I mentioned in my report, kids aren't all the same size. So then we would have a backup 20 uniforms that we would purchase later,
Varying sizes.
varying sizes that we would have available for kids. And I also mentioned that, he is recommending a reduction in the numbers from the 100 that we purchased at the consolidation to down to 80.
All right, so then we need a motion to approve the purchase of 60 marching band uniforms from Doolin Brothers and Company for the amount of $24,646.25.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second?
Second.
Linda Weldy, call roll please.
Guerrero,
Yes?
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes. Pearson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weldon.
Yes.
With our payout table that we have to NG and the fact that we took advantage of some low interest rates back in the fall when we, sold our bonds. There was an opportunity for us to do a little investing until we needed to pull that money back out and actually start paying NG, for their services. So I reached out to our bank and I also shopped, the interest rates, during that time period. And as I mentioned, I think the high during that time was maybe a 1 3/4% on a CD, the lowest of being about, 0.5%. In discussions with him, I asked for, obviously, the, 1 3/4. He said that 1.5 was the best that the bank could do. I think not having to switch banks and go through all of that, it would be worth to stick with, Scott State Bank for this. So basically what we're gonna do, we're going to, go with a certificate of deposit for $7 million, which will ride in the bank for 182 days at a rate of 1.5%.
And you said that's us about 52.
A little over 52,000, which we can put into lumps. Fun stuff.
Can we put this into something pretty?
Band uniform.
Pretty, did you see those?
Okay, I do agree, I'm sorry. I forgot how excited you were about the balloons.
Poke them out of my home.
Okay, so then we need a motion to approve a $7 million certificate of deposit with Scott State Bank for 182 days at a rate of 1.5%.
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
Roger Reed, call roll please.
Kent, Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes. Pearson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weldon,
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
And the last item, the heaters up at the entrance of the gym, one of them's leaking, one of them is operational, but it does not put out hardly any air at all. I called 3 local contractors for bids for this. which included Kinglar, Burdick, and Binder. Burdick chose not to send me a bid. Binder did put in a bid for the job, which was about $1,100 less than Kinglar, but they did not, really follow the bid specs that I had. I asked for a external thermostat control that would be on the adjacent wall, so the temperature could be a little more regulated in that area instead of just having your temperature gauges up in the cold air returns of the heaters themselves. I don't know how they would ever know to kick on or off, because I don't think the temperature fluctuation would be anything like swinging open the doors in January up there. If you've ever sold tickets up there, if you've ever stood up there in January, it's not pleasant. So I would recommend that we award the bid to Kinglar for the replacement of those heaters. They will be flush mount, they'll fit in the existing holes. Kinglar will also do the patch and repair work of any of the plaster that is already damaged or may be damaged in the process of installation. So I think their bid was more complete, even though it's a little bit more. We're not obligated to take that because it's, again, not over the threshold. And all those people that have worked with these three companies over the course of their years here, which would be Randy and Bruce, they all agree that Kinglar does pretty darn good work, and everything looks nice and neat, and it's really done the way that it should be. So I don't think that we can go wrong with that. So that's my recommendation.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the bid of Kinglar for the replacement of 2 heaters in the entrance of the high school gym for the amount of $14,880.
So moved.
Motion made by James Kemp, is there a second?
Second.
Eric Pearson, call roll please. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Welding?
Yes.
Solero? Yes. Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. All right, next regular meeting is scheduled for March 18th at 6 p.m. There's no more policy updates at this time, but we may have a few policy updates on the questions we have today, but everything else is done. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Linda Welby, is there a second?
Second.
Martha Leeper, call roll please. Voice. Oh, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.